Good morning. I think we're all set to go technically. Our technology's up and running. Good morning. I'm City Councilor Paula Fletcher, and I chair the TCHC Board's Community Advisory Subcommittee. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the public session of today's committee meeting. And I think we have a number of people online. We have quorum. Thank you very much. So let me please start by acknowledging that the land that we're on is the territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse nations as well, Inuit, Métis peoples, and we acknowledge that Toronto is covered with Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We also acknowledge all treaty people, including those who came as settlers, as migrants, either in this generation or generations past, and those who came to us involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery, and we pay tribute to the ancestors of African origin and descent. During today's public session, there's one report, Q1, Q2, 2024 Violence Reduction Program, and it's brought forward for the committee's attention. So we're going to modify the deputations and voting process because we're a hybrid. We have previously established for voting during the course of the meeting. Members of the committee, whether attending in person or remotely, will be asked to vote by way of show of hands. And members of the public wanting to depute to an agenda item have the option to either submit a written deputation, which will be distributed to the committee before the meeting, to participate in the meeting and depute at the committee via WebEx or in person to make a deputation at today's meeting. The final deputation summary will go to all CSAC members the day before the meeting. So I'm just going to go through and ask if there's any declarations, conflict of interest, any of the members of the committee. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll say no conflicts of interest were declared at this agenda item. There's a presentation for item number 6, violence reduction programs. We'll automatically hold that item. Are there holds for any other of the items on today's public agenda? Uba, Marcel, any holds? No? Thank you very much then. Could I get a motion, Marcel, to approve the items except for number 6? Uba, I can't see your hand. Could you just tell me you're approving, please?
Yeah, I'm approving. Thank you.
Thank you. So everything approved except for item number 6, and I understand we have one deputant for item number 6. Mr. Miguel Avila, are you deputing on this item?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call you, please, and you have 5 minutes to make a deputation.
Good morning. So I'm here to make a disclaimer before I start. I'm speaking as an Indigenous person that lives at 220 Oak Street and Toronto Community Housing, 220 Oak Street, my landlord. So I'm here speaking also in my condition as resident director of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, which I proudly represent. Regards the violence reduction program that you guys are discussing today, I want to update you guys that our Regent Park Safety Network, one of the 4 tables of the, I hear a lot of noise on that side. I can't complete my deputation. Can you hold the time for me, please? But there's a lot of
Well, they're being very
conversation
quiet.
over there.
Thank you. Please
I
continue.
mean, they can have a conversation outside.
Thank you.
So the Regent Park Safety Network hosted with the Toronto Police 51 Division community quarter update in the month of August, early August. And in that conversation, we had updates from Toronto Police and Community Safety Unit. One of them was in regards, I wonder if I can display this on the overhead. Anybody on the booth? Hello? Hello? Nobody in the booth? Okay. How many times, what is my minute? How much I have left?
I've got it running. You've got 3.5 minutes left, Mr. Avila.
Okay, I can't see nothing on the overhead. I don't want to flip it over. No, I can't. Okay, there you go. So if you can see, I don't know if it's possible. It says right there, no e-bikes permitted in the building. And what is the reason of it? I'm trying to see it expanded. It's not clear. There is. So what happened is in many buildings in Regent Park, they had this sign attached to the wall. Why? Because they have infrastructure in the basements. They have something called e-bike rooms, bicycle rooms. And what happens is that we don't have a currently e-bike policy. And that will help to decrease the level of aggression among the tenants, because what happens is all the bikes and e-bikes are cramped into the elevators, frustrating tenants, frustrating seniors, frustrating people on disability, because sometimes infrastructure is not available. And that is what I'm going to be speaking at TFAC next week, about increasing funding for projects that require attention, like e-bikes, batteries catching fire. So I am thankful for TCHC for starting to progressively educating tenants about the dangers of faulty batteries and chargers. So this post is available in the lobby of 100 River Street, which is a TCHC building in Regent Park. But I don't know if there's also attached to this poster an education program. I don't know, the community animators can, be in the lobby talking to the residents about the dangers of bringing your e-bike and leaving it unattended because charges are faulty. You buy it in the black market. Sometimes you buy in Kijiji, because you're poor, or sometimes you make modifications to your battery. So those are the comments I bring to your attention today as part of the violence reduction program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? I'm here 24 hours.
It's okay. I'll ask that. Thank you so much. Marcel or Uba, do you have any questions, Mr. Viola? No, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll bring this into committee, and Ms. Gouveia, you have some remarks here in order to introduce that. Thank you.
So thank you, Chair Fletcher. So I'll ask my team to go down to the hot seat, so to speak, to do the presentation. But following our last CSAC meeting on June 3rd, we committed to restructuring the Violence Reduction Program report to provide a clearer and more detailed account of its progress. Today's report will reflect those changes, offering a high-level overview of the program's key activities in Q1 and Q2 of this year. This updated report focuses on safety initiatives, community engagement efforts, and detailed data on violence-related incidents across TCHC properties. It also highlights the collaboration between the regional teams, the Community Safety Unit, and the Programs and Partnerships team in promoting community safety. We have Alan Britton and Mona Batoni from our Community Safety Unit and Arsema Berhane from the Programs and Partnerships team here to present a short summary of the report and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Nadia. Good morning,
Welcome.
Chair Fletcher.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. I would just like to start off with just a quick overview of the VRP program. It was created in 2019 to address some of the disproportionate violence that was occurring in our communities. We worked very closely with our partners over the years to grow the program. The original concept was boots on the ground concept of having community safety staff in the buildings to try to deter crime and deal with antisocial behavior, crime, and whatever occurred that they could assist with to reduce that violence. Over the years, the program has grown significantly, and we've really, I believe, gotten to a better place where we're looking at the root causes of the antisocial behavior, and Arsema's team's done an outstanding job working with our team and internal and external partners to try and enhance the program. So what we've done over the years is taken the report that we submitted and try to broaden who does what, to be quite honest, because historically it was a one report where it would clearly say the results of the efforts, but it wouldn't clearly articulate who did what. What we're trying to do, and again, we fully admit this is an evolving report that we do, and as the work is evolving as well. So what we're going to do today is try to explain the three different streams that we see that we're performing that work. The first is community development, which is led by our SEMA's team, programs and partnerships. And that team works very closely with the root causes. They really look at the deeper issues, as I said earlier. The next is the regional teams, and the regional teams work in conjunction with CSU as well as program and partnerships. So they're kind of in the middle of the work that goes on, and they are really the true people that are there every day and see what's going on and have the input to provide to everyone. And the last is the community safety unit. And our community safety unit work as much as we can at the development side, but we are the ones that respond as needed when the issues arise. Our community safety advisors try to become more embedded in the community to be able to provide more information. Ultimately, the goal is to get information to our SEMA's team to really look at the issues in each community and provide a tailored response. So I'm just going to pass it over to our SEMA now. She's going to speak of the community development.
Thank you, Al. Okay, so in terms of the programs and partnerships VRP team, as you know, we adopt a person and place-based approach to prevent gun violence in all our properties. And so we collaborate with Violence Prevention Toronto, the centralized and regional teams in TCHC, community service providers and agencies, as well as TCHC tenants to deliver our programs and services to children, youth, and families. We focus on social development, prevention, intervention, interruption, response, and recovery. And we rely on these partnerships to share information that will help us to collectively identify the issues driving violence and work together to respond actively. So we try to put proactive measures in places using a community development approach, as Al described. Finally, our active participation at the integrated safety coordination teams that's led by the city. And we have key partners there like Toronto Police Services, Toronto District School Board, and together we've been working together to create institutional collaboration, and that's so that we can drive some systems change with regards to data collection, resource mobilization, making sure that we're doing some joint planning to better align our limited resources. Next slide. So my team, the VRP PAP staff, work closely with partners, as I said, various programs and partnerships and regional teams to make sure that we're focusing on gun violence prevention. We do a lot of work around youth development and tenant engagement, and we've also been focusing on the family aspect in terms of the training and the support programs that we offer. Over the past 3 years, we've seen a significant increase in both engagement activities and referrals to agencies. However, I continue to work with my team to emphasize a shift from general engagement and just really focus on violence prevention specifically so that we're reaching the tenants that are most impacted. But this also means that we're developing collective approach to preventing violence, and the rest of my team, so the CED and the active living folks, are the ones that continue to do the partnership development and working with tenants. A key example of that is opening the iHelp centers that are safe spaces for tenants to access services, and also connecting tenants to employment opportunities through partnerships like the Access Employment. And then again, we're running programs in collaboration with tenant leaders, so working with tenants to be the ones leading the work that's needed in their communities and providing the supports for their own capacity building. And we do that with partners such as Unison Health and Community Services and the Jane Alliance Neighborhood Services, to name a few. And like I said, our regional colleagues continue to do the community development work as well, working with partners to make sure that we're also providing access to mental health supports, education, employment, and other critical social support services. So in terms of the regionals work, how our colleagues in the regions facilitate VRP is that they do critical incident response, working closely with CSU, PAP, Toronto Police, and the City of Toronto teams. They also coordinate the use of space agreements for VRP programs and events, ensuring that services are aligned with the changing needs of our tenants. They're the ones that are closest to our tenants, so they're constantly engaging with community to understand what are the services that are needed or the ways in which we need to enhance our programs. They also partner on community development and engagement activities so that we're constantly building trust, and so that we can tap into the assets again in our tenant population and the physical spaces in our communities. In terms of partnering on violence prevention activities, so the region also works closely with my team in terms of delivering programs and workshops. So we did some extensive work at Midnight Basketball, which is a program that's geared to youth ages 14 to 18. We've also, worked together again with CSU and other partners to bring residents living in VRP communities together through basketball and other sports activities so that we're building trust, and we're using that to leverage partnerships with York University, for example, TMU, so that we're using it as a tool, but it's mostly around building relationships so we can continue to have that trusting adult relationship with the young people that are most impacted. And finally, the regional teams also collaborate with legal services and play a critical role with intervention using eviction notices for antisocial behavior. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ursama. I'm just going to speak quickly. I touched on it in my opening remarks, just the different aspects that are of staff that are used within the community safety unit. But the first is the community safety advisors. I touched on that a little bit about them engaging in the community. The one thing I think that's very valuable to point out is the audits that our community safety advisors do. They use the CPTED principles, and CPTED is a well-established technique. It's called crime prevention through environmental design. And we talk about root causes for antisocial behavior. Sometimes the design of buildings and the design of the location of buildings and the access to it, they're all very important to make sure we get it right to prevent congregation for antisocial behavior, as well as instances where it can occur where we can prevent it through better design. The second is our VRP special constables, and I mentioned earlier that they're the boots on the ground. We deploy our special constables in our VRP sites on foot, in vehicles and on bicycles when required. And it really is suited for the actual area that they work. Each VRP site is very distinct and different, and we try to tailor the deployment to the needs of that area. And the last is our field intelligence officers. Their field intelligence officers, I've mentioned in previous meetings, they're highly skilled, highly trained individuals that are able to connect the dots, and they work behind the scenes and they work closely establishing information links and provide that to the appropriate area, albeit site staff, regional staff, or Toronto Police Service. Whoever is a requirement of the legal access to that information, they make sure it's provided to them. And I'm just going to turn it over to Mona now to touch on some of the numbers from the report.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. So I'm just going to go through some of the specific CSU activities and initiatives and intervention over the last 2 quarters. So the community safety advisors conducted 2 safety audits, both in Q1 and Q2 in the VRP specific communities. And the way these audits are selected are through consultations and requests from operations staff, or it comes through requests from our CSU management team. And the purpose is usually to, or if there's an increase in violence, where there's a heightened focus on lighting and sight lines, et cetera. So that's another indicator of when safety audits are conducted. The other CSU activity in the proactive work that the officers do. So there's the CSU patrols. So they serve as, like I said, proactive measures to deter crime and build relationships with our tenants, site staff, and stakeholders. So the patrols totaled 1,430 in Q1 and 1,323 in Q2. So there was a slight decline. And some of these numbers include the joint patrols that are conducted with Toronto Police Services. Unfortunately, we can't always conduct as many patrols as we'd like to, but our officers do conduct as many as possible and as needed, because a lot of it's contingent on the Toronto police officers' availability to conduct these patrols. And most of the time, the patrols are conducted based on the community needs. So moving over to the next slide. So the community safety related initiatives. So this is specific to the work of the community safety advisors. So they're involved in various community safety interventions. So they attend communities after critical incidents have taken place in the community. They visit tenants in relation to any antisocial behavior that takes place in our communities, and they conduct lobby intercepts. So if you look at the chart, you can see the activity of our CSAs for the last 3 years and for Q1 and Q2. The CSAs continuously participate in our regional operational meetings. They attend community town halls. They attend post-critical incidents. They participate in tenancy management meetings, and they attend tenant safety meetings. And moving over to the next slide, which is the CSU enforcement and crime intervention. So CSU's efforts to reduce crime is through enforcement and crime intervention. So they work with, so the special constables are the ones obviously that do the CSU enforcement, and we can see in the graph there that there was a decrease in arrests and an increase in trespass incidents from Q1 to Q2 in these VRP communities. And the other thing that the special constables are involved in is they conduct wellness checks. So in our VRP communities, the wellness check data shown in the graph, and we did not see any fluctuation from Q1 to Q2, so that was fairly consistent and stable in both quarters. And finally, the fourth slide. So we can see the graph here, which shows the impacts and indicators, and this is specific to crimes on CSU property, both against person and property. So collaborative efforts and activities focus on gun violence prevention. This includes the efforts to reduce crimes against property and crimes against persons in TCHC communities. There was a slight increase in criminal activity as we saw from Q1 to Q2 in both crimes against person and crimes against property. So that pretty much sums up the activity of the community safety unit and the interventions that we take and the crime prevention efforts that are put forward.
So Chair, just a few more comments if you don't mind, and then we're just going to wrap up and obviously be open for questions. But the one part that I really wanted to emphasize is we take these meetings very seriously, and we take the feedback from this committee and from the TSC and the board very seriously. And you'll see with our community safety initiatives, what we're talking about there is what's led by the CSAs. And the feedback that we received through the years is that CSU is meant to be in the field doing the work that we are. So we have instructed our staff to really focus on the work they're doing. There are some that our CSAs lead that are very important, and we believe it's valuable to continue, but we have greatly reduced that number. As you'll see on the chart there, we've gone down to under 100 for the first half of the year. In the last few years, we've been up around 500-600 overall events. And I just really want to stress that because we do take this feedback very seriously. The other part I wanted to touch on was just the enforcement. When we first started the program, we anticipated there'd be a spike. There'd be a spike in enforcement because that was what was required at the time, and it eventually it'd come down. And I think we're seeing that with the chart on the slide about enforcement. We're seeing it greatly reduce. And the wellness checks themselves are a great tool that we have to check on the well-being of our tenants. But it was on the chart here, you're going to see a great spike in 2021 and 2022 when COVID occurred. We were assisting with a greater number of wellness checks. So we're around where we normally are with the new charts. I just wanted to highlight because it's a drastic drop, but it's a more appropriate level where we're at. The last thing I just wanted to do is just in closing, we just wanted to cover off some of the next steps. I see the Convene TO team here, and we're working very closely with them, and we look forward to finding where the direction for CSU and what our mandate and role should be to best serve our community. And we're doing that, and we anticipate the development of whatever comes out of VRP, if it stays VRP or changed or is amended or altered, we're fully in line with working with the team to do that. We also look at assisting our SEMA's team, and our SEMA, I'm going to turn it over to you the next steps, please.
So through the chair, while we're waiting for the CSU review to lead us in the direction of what the future state will be, I explained that my team continues to essentially shift away from general engagement to focused violence prevention, really so that we can have role clarity among the various teams and so that we can have effective service delivery. To that end, we're going to continue with the iHelp Center model because it's been really well received. We want to invest in staff training so that we can build specialized teams that are focused in prevention programming and partnership development. And we want to expand on the work that we have seen great impact. So the stage is one of those, trauma-informed response programs. We're working with the young people that led that program to expand their reach beyond the initial cohort. Some of them have actually expressed interest in careers in violence prevention work. So again, connecting them to the stakeholders that can continue in that career development, both at TCHC and at the city. And it's really showing potential for identifying other youth leaders that can continue to engage with us to promote healthy development and enhance community safety. I think we'll stop here. We're open to take questions.
Thank you so much for a great report. I'm just looking at Marcel and Uba, and if you have any questions.
I just have
Marcel,
one.
please. Yep. We'll do Marcel and then move to Uba if that's okay. Go ahead, Marcel.
That's okay.
So with the VRP
Can't hear you
special,
very well. Could you get up a little closer or turn your computer up, please?
hi, is that better?
Now it's good, thanks.
Okay, with the VRP special constables and with the site patrols and stuff, how many sites do they patrol and how many staff do they go on each patrol? Is it 2, 1, 3?
Yes, good morning, Director Charlebois. Our VRP staff are assigned in partners. So for the VRP sites, there are 8 sites, including Dan Harrison, but there are 7 separate titled VRP, I should say. Those sites have multiple addresses in them, but they're usually in a very close proximity. But we always have 2 special constables assigned, and they patrol together. And if one is off sick or on vacation, then they're backfilled by another individual.
Thank you. And then I was wondering with the VRP, is it possible for myself to do a visit just to see the things like the great work you guys are doing?
We would be very pleased to provide that opportunity and anytime. Again, our staff work 24/7, 7 days a week, so we can certainly set that up. I know you did a job shadow previously, and we can make sure do one specific to different VRP sites or whatever you would require.
Thank you. Yeah, that job shadow was very enlightening. It actually gave me a good view on the other side of things, and I really appreciated the time you all gave to me. All right, thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. Uba?
Thanks, Paula. And I will with first of all with Marcel, and also to see how things are done in the VRP area. And I just have a quick comment and one question. Thank you so much for a great report. And as you say, Alan, in the beginning, it was more an enforcement, and now I'm glad to see all the community development piece and that we're taking that holistic approach. I was just supporting the clients of mine who were impacted gun violence at Jane and Driftwood this last 2-3 days, and I see the collaboration with the city, crisis response, TCHC, victim services, the whole 9 yards. So I really like that holistic approach that we take in community development, as I said. And my quick question is, when I was looking at the report, I didn't see 2195 being one of the VRP sites. I don't know if I missed it or if it's not included. And my other question is, I remember last time, I don't know which meeting it was, we said that we're gonna have a gate at Falstaff. So is that gate now working? Is the security there? And yeah, that I'm stop there. Thanks.
I'll try to answer the best I can. There were some I heard, some I didn't, but I did
Did
hear
you
about.
need the addresses, Uba?
I think it was 2195 Jane and 30 Falstaff, if I'm
Well,
correct.
those are 2 addresses, Uba, because it's a little hard to hear you. The
Oh, I'm
Jane
so
and-
sorry. So sorry.
Pardon?
Yeah, I was asking if 2195 is part of the VRP area. My other question was, at fall staff, do we have the gates? Because last time we said we're gonna have a security and a closed gate.
Yes, Director Farah, thank you for the question. 2195 is part of our VRP designation. It's number 6 on the list. I believe it's page 3 of 13 of our report. And 30 fall staff is included there. So our staff will go between the buildings, try to spend as much time at 30 fall staff over to 2195 and the other fall staff buildings that are listed there. As far as the gate, my understanding is the gate was put in place at the front. However, I will confirm that. I don't want to misspeak. I know there was work being done, and I don't know if, no, I apologize. I don't know for sure, but I will certainly get back to you.
So through the chair, I can confirm that a gate was installed. We were having some technical issues with it, so I don't know the current status, but it was installed in the fall staff community.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, I didn't see the 2195 when I was looking at it, so I think I missed it. Thanks a lot.
Uba, is that your questions?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, great.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions today. I just want to thank you all for a really great report. Appreciate how you're breaking that out into everybody's kind of lane and how you're overlapping and doing things separately, critical incidents, community development, response, assisting people. It's really fantastic, and working together to take a program that was started one way and enhance it to be the best it can possibly be at TCHC. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to ask somebody to move this. Marcel, are you going to move receipt of this?
It would be my absolute pleasure.
Okay, moved by Marcel. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you so much. So that is our one item that we have in public. Is there any other business that anybody needs to bring up in the public session? Marcel, Uba, Paula? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Then if there are no additional items to the meeting, I'm going to request a motion to terminate the public meeting. Uba, can you please move that we adjourn the public meeting and move to the closed session of the committee?
Sure, I do, yeah.
You're moving that? All right, thank you, everyone, public who's attending today's meeting. We're going to move into our in-camera session today. Thank you so much. This ends the public session of the committee.